My boyfriend freaked out when he found out the real reason for my divorce. My name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old and I live in Denver, Colorado. I've been divorced for 3 years and have been dating Michael for 8 months. He's an amazing guy who works as a software engineer, kind, funny, smart, and for the first time since my divorce, I really thought I had found someone I could build a solid future with. That was until last Tuesday when my life completely fell apart again. Let me start with the context of my divorce, because it's absolutely crucial to understanding the current situation. I was married to David for 7 long years. On the outside, we had what seemed like a perfect marriage. A beautiful house in the Denver suburbs, 2 new cars, stable and well-paying jobs. We even talked constantly about having kids in the near future. David worked as a senior accountant at a large, respected firm, and I was a marketing manager at a promising tech startup. We were literally that couple all our friends openly envied, always posting happy photos on Instagram, hosting elaborate backyard barbecues, going on romantic weekend road trips to Aspen. What absolutely no one knew was that David had a dark and disturbing secret. A secret I only discovered by accident when he left his laptop open at home during a weekend in October 2021. It wasn't snooping, I swear to God. I just wanted to use his laptop to watch Netflix because mine was charging in the bedroom. And that's when I saw multiple chat windows open in his browser. These weren't normal work or friend conversations. They were something much more sinister and deeply disturbing. David was part of multiple online groups that were extremely specific and dangerous. I won't go into graphic detail because it's too disturbing and would probably violate Reddit's rules. But basically, he was deeply involved in communities that shared and discussed highly questionable content involving minors. It wasn't technically child pornography, but it was a very dangerous gray area that constantly and deliberately bordered on it. Supposedly innocent photos of children that were commented on in disgusting sexualized ways. Detailed discussions on how to strategically approach families with small children. Specific methods for gaining the trust of vulnerable single parents. Even detailed maps of playgrounds and schools in our geographic region. What shocked me the most was discovering that David wasn't just a passive member of these sick groups. He was highly active, regularly posting original content, participating in elaborate discussions, even moderating one of the main forums. He had a well-established reputation in that twisted community, with literally hundreds of detailed posts over several years. Years that coincided exactly with our seemingly happy marriage. When I confronted David that awful night, he denied everything at first, vehemently. Said I was misinterpreting things, that it was just meaningless internet chatter. But when I showed him screenshots of the most disturbing and graphic conversations, he completely broke down in front of me, admitted everything while crying, but said it was only fantasy and that he would never act on it in real life. Claimed it was like a normal porn addiction and that he could quit anytime. He begged me not to tell anyone, promised to seek professional help immediately, even sobbed uncontrollably and said he loved me more than anything in life. I was in traumatic shock for weeks. I couldn't even look at him without feeling nauseous. I slept exclusively in the guest room and could barely eat. I lost nearly 15 pounds in the first month after the discovery. The man I had shared my bed with for 7 years was a complete stranger. Worse than a stranger, he was someone I considered genuinely dangerous to innocent children. Every time we saw children in public, on the street, at the grocery store, I obsessively watched how he reacted, searching for any telling signs that his twisted fantasies might turn into real-life actions. During that horrible period, David tried absolutely everything to convince me to stay in the marriage. Deleted all his online accounts, completely wiped his computer, even suggested we install professional monitoring software so I could see everything he did online. He made an emergency appointment with a psychologist who specialized in problematic sexual addictions, bought me expensive flowers daily, wrote long apology letters, did literally everything a desperate husband would do. But it was far too late for reconciliation. I could no longer see him as the man I once loved, only as a real threat to children. After 2 months of mental agony, I made a decision I still don't know if was morally right. I didn't call the police or the authorities. There was no concrete evidence of actual physical crimes, just disturbing documented intentions and fantasies, and I knew it would be extremely hard to prove anything criminally. Plus, David came from a very influential family in Denver. His father was a respected federal judge, and his mother had deep ties to the police department and state judicial system. I knew that if I made accusations without irrefutable proof, I'd be the one who looked like a vengeful wife trying to maliciously destroy a respected man's reputation. So I went through with the immediate divorce. But there was one massive complication. I couldn't just file for divorce without convincingly explaining the reason to family and close friends. David was literally beloved by everyone in our social circle. The perfect son-in-law to my parents, the best friend every guy admired, the guy who helped everyone file their taxes for free. If I divorced him without a solid and believable reason, I'd be seen as the unstable woman who left a perfect husband on a whim. That's when I deliberately made up the elaborate cheating story. A detailed affair with a coworker of his named Jennifer Martinez, who actually existed and had a naturally close professional relationship with him. Jennifer was the marketing coordinator at David's firm, stunningly beautiful, single, and always present at corporate events and year-end parties. She and David collaborated closely on several major projects, stayed late at the office sometimes, and had that platonic workplace chemistry that some people develop. I built a completely believable story. Said I found compromising messages, caught them on suspicious romantic calls, even claimed I saw them kissing passionately in the company parking lot after a happy hour. Invented specific details about expensive gifts he allegedly gave her, secret hotel meetups, romantic promises that he'd leave me for her. The story fit perfectly. Jennifer was naturally charismatic and always impeccably dressed at social events. When I told my family and friends that David had been having a long affair with her, no one questioned it. My sister even said she always thought Jennifer was too interested in David. My mom said she never liked the way Jennifer looked at him during company parties. David was furious when he found out I was telling people he had cheated with Jennifer. He called me dozens of times, sent long, desperate texts, even showed up at my door yelling that it was completely unfair and that Jennifer was totally innocent. But he couldn't publicly deny it without exposing the real reason our marriage had ended. So after weeks of resistance, he reluctantly accepted the blame for the fake affair to protect his dark secret. The divorce was finalized in exactly 6 months. We split everything 50-50 as per Colorado law. I got our 3-bedroom house, and we moved on with separate lives. David moved across town and essentially vanished from our social circle. Jennifer, understandably, was devastated when she learned she was being publicly accused of being the other woman. She came to my workplace in tears, desperately trying to clarify that there had never been anything romantic or sexual between her and David. She said they were just co-workers, she respected our marriage, and she couldn't understand why I was spreading such cruel lies. I stood firm in my story, said I had irrefutable evidence, and that she knew exactly what she had done. She left that conversation sobbing uncontrollably. The consequences for Jennifer were devastating and long-lasting. The story spread quickly at the company. Coworkers started treating her differently, whispers in the hallways, avoiding projects with her. Some assumed she was the kind of woman who chased married men. Others pitied her, thinking David had taken advantage of her. Either way, the work environment became unbearable. Jennifer resigned 6 months later. She moved to Seattle to work at a completely new tech company, basically starting over from scratch. I heard from mutual acquaintances that she developed severe anxiety and had to undergo intensive therapy for over a year to deal with the trauma of having her professional reputation destroyed over something she never did. For 3 full years, I maintained that elaborate lie flawlessly. Everyone in my life believed David had cruelly cheated on me with Jennifer. My parents hated him, my friends despised him, and I was seen as the brave woman who rebuilt her life after betrayal. It was surprisingly easy to maintain the story, especially because David never contradicted it. He disappeared from our social circle and silently carried the false blame. I met Michael on Bumble last September. From our first date at a cozy downtown Denver cafe, there was amazing chemistry. He was everything David wasn't. More spontaneous, adventurous, sarcastically funny, and brutally honest about everything, which felt incredibly refreshing after years of lies and secrets. Michael works in cybersecurity, helping companies protect against digital crimes. Ironically, a big part of his job involves tracking online predators and helping identify people involved in illegal internet activity. He's extremely ethical about tech and online privacy and has absolutely zero tolerance for predatory or abusive behavior. When Michael asked about my previous marriage on our 3rd date, I told the cheating story without hesitation. Said David had cheated with a coworker, that I discovered the affair after years of lies, and that it was the most painful experience of my life. Michael was incredibly supportive and kind. Said David was a complete idiot for losing me, that cheating was a trust break that could never be repaired, and that he would never do anything like that to me. The next 8 months were the happiest of my adult life. Michael met my whole family, got along wonderfully with my parents and siblings. We started talking seriously about moving in together, and I truly believed I had found my soulmate. He was even planning to propose. I found out because my best friend Jessica accidentally mentioned he had asked about my ring preferences. Everything was absolutely perfect, until last Tuesday. Michael came home much earlier from work than usual. It was only 3 p.m. As soon as he walked in, I knew something was terribly wrong. He looked physically ill, pale, with an expression I'd never seen before. Michael sat heavily on the living room couch, looked me straight in the eyes, and said he had found out something about David that changed everything. My first thought was that he had discovered the truth about David's online activities. But it wasn't that. Michael had learned through a colleague that David never had an affair with Jennifer Martinez. In fact, Jennifer had sued the company for harassment after she was forced to resign because of the rumors I had spread. The lawsuit revealed there was no evidence of any relationship between David and Jennifer. Michael looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. It wasn't anger. It was deep disappointment mixed with disgust. He said he couldn't understand why I would invent an affair and ruin an innocent person's life. I panicked. I couldn't tell the truth about David because it would mean admitting I had covered up criminal behavior, but I couldn't keep lying either. Michael asked me point blank, "Sarah, did David really cheat on you?" I hesitated, and that hesitation was all the answer he needed. Michael exploded with despair, said he no longer knew who I was, that the person he had fallen in love with was based on a lie. He questioned everything about our relationship. The fight lasted 4 hours. Michael left Wednesday and hasn't come back. He took his things. He's not answering my messages. Yesterday, I got a message on LinkedIn from Jennifer. She said David had contacted her to apologize and admitted there was never anything between them. I'm in an impossible situation. If I tell Michael the truth, he'll ask why I never reported David. If I don't, I'll lose the love of my life. Michael is right not to trust me. I built our relationship on a lie that destroyed innocent lives.
Comment. What would you do in this situation? If you liked this video, don't forget to like and share so we can bring you more stories like this. Keep an eye out for more stories. Hope you have a good day.